One piece of advice, if I could give to my younger self, is anytime you hear an older person say, "Oh, I have to do this to be able to climb now." Do that now and you will be like a superhuman.
Hey y'all, welcome back to The Struggle. It's me, Ryan. I am your host, and I am busy. Oh my God, are you guys busy right now? I got 2 jobs, 2 kids, and too little time to get it all in. But that's the life of a weekend warrior like you and me. We are just doing what we can to make it all work. And today we talk a little bit about that with Coach Nate Drolet, frequent guest and contributor of The Struggle. Nate Drolet is back on the pod here. And we talk a little bit about what I got going on, but we mostly talk about what he's got going on, which was such a delight. He was fresh off of a trip to Hueco Tanks, fresh off of an injury, and fresh off of just making it all work and having fun and actually sending the gnar. And so we really explore his experience recently on that climb trip, also how he's training and how he's working towards his sport climbing season. And then we also talk about my stuff. And my stuff predominantly is just kind of working through a bit of an injury that I sustained recently when I took a trip out to Red Rock, took a kind of a weird fall and hurt my back. And then I posed the question hypothetically, but then a little bit literally to myself, am I too old for bouldering? And then I heard from a lot of you, like thousands of you. I posted a video on my new YouTube channel, Ryan Devlin Climbing, just asking this question and kind of talking through the injury and what my journey has been like being a predominant sport climber that's moving into a bouldering phase that also wants to continue to sport climb. And anyway, the response was like really huge, and I appreciated that and got a ton of words of support, but also a good amount of people saying, yeah, you're probably too old for bouldering. So I posed that question to Nate today, and he had a really thoughtful response. Not surprisingly, Nate's a very thoughtful coach. And so I really appreciated his perspective on where I'm at, where I want to go, and what it means if you are in your teens or 20s listening to this, or you're closer to my side, maybe you're in your 40s or 50s or beyond. Nate looks back in time and gives some advice to his younger self so that his older self can continue to progress in this sport that we love so much. So I think you'll get a lot out of this one, regardless of where you're at in your climbing and training journey. And on the backside, I'll give you a little bit more of an update on where I'm at with my training and my climbing. But right now, let's go ahead and just dive right in with Coach Nate Drolet.
Just got back from Waco I guess technically this morning. 16-hour drive.
Oh God, dude.
It was terrible.
The fact that you're like just sitting upright after a 16-hour drive after a bouldering trip, man.
Yeah, I don't know. It was good though. I ended up pushing it back, staying an extra day. Initially, I was supposed to be driving back Sunday, but I was, classic. I was close to sending a boulder. So I decided to stay an extra day and it worked out. So it was great.
Oh, good. It's nice that it worked out, making that commitment. I talked to a lot of climbers where I haven't talked to a lot of climbers where it hasn't worked out. Has it ever not worked out? You stay the extra day and then it just doesn't go?
I very rarely do this. Like, I am not because I know plenty of climbers who are like, no, we're pushing the plane ticket. We're getting new plane tickets. We're pushing it back. I'm like, yo, that's crazy. Sick, awesome. But I find that I do well with a certain time pressure. Mm-hmm. So I like that there's an end date. I think if I knew I could always kick the date back, I don't know that I would have the same approach.
Right.
But yeah, this was I don't know, it's just a little bit different, lined up with weather well. Also, first half of my trip basically got, essentially canceled because of snow and rain.
Yeah, I remember you saying like you were planning on being in Waco and then you just stayed home for a while because they got hit so hard over there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no point in driving over when they were like getting heaps of snow. Yeah.
I'd love to talk about this trip a little bit. Not only are you fresh off of it, you're basically like still on it. You rolled in this morning.
Yeah. My body still thinks I'm like behind the wheel of a Prius right now. We're like, it thinks I'm still going like 80 miles an hour through New Mexico.
That's so good, dude. Yeah. I just would love to, so often we talk, you and I connect, and we're just talking about like my stuff. And I would love to talk about your stuff for a little bit because I followed along. As we've already established, it was a trip to Waco. And when was the last time you were there? And what was the kind of primary goal or objective or Stoke for this trip?
I was there 7 years ago.
Oh, it's been a bit.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pre-COVID. Yeah, it had been a long time. And for a long time, I kind of was worried about coming back to Waco because it is where I bouldered. You know, I would sport climb in the Southeast throughout the year. And then in the winters, for a lot of winters in a row, I would go to Waco and I would guide there. Or sometimes when I wasn't guiding, you know, I would do my remote work. But that was, to me, the lens I viewed bouldering through was performing in Hueco Tanks. And I viewed it as like a way of training for sport climbing too. But what this meant was, man, when I would go, I would just do so much climbing. I mean, my first season there, I climbed with Ravioli Biceps. We spent a ton of time together and we had this motto, ATB, all the boulders. And we had to do 5 new boulders every day.
Wow.
So, I mean, and that could be like V0s and plenty of times it was, but
sure,
you know, you would, yeah, we climbed so much and it was so much fun. And I feel like a lot of my style was formed around climbing in Waco. But what that meant was, you know, I had a period where I felt like I was climbing very well, especially, you know, 2017, 2018. I had trained a lot, showed up feeling healthy and strong. And leaving after that, I was like, man, I feel like it would be hard for me to come back if I'm not in the best shape of my life, which is a weird place to be. And it's funny, I've had a similar thing with the Red. When I stopped going to the Red a long, long time ago, you know, over a decade ago, I was, you know, I found my old guidebook the other day. From when I lived in Kentucky, I had done all but 113C in the guidebook and I had written in 3 more. Like, but there were like 6 of them in the guidebook. Right. And now there's, you know, whatever, probably like 70. It's crazy, the development. But there was a point where I was like, oh no, like coming back feels a little intimidating because I just have to be much better. Mm-hmm. But it's cool. So much development has happened in Waco. I mean, it's been happening, but also there's a new guidebook that came out that really shined a light on a lot of things that I hadn't done. And especially, I mean, there are so many things in, you know, let's say V6 to V10 range that I didn't know existed. And now I'm like, oh, I get new things that I don't have to be in the best shape of my life, you know, to go be able to do.
Right. So you weren't going back for unfinished business or some proj that you've been training for. It was more an ATB, you know, take 2 scenario here, just with the new stuff that has popped up in the last 7 years.
That's what it kind of turned into being. I agreed to this trip like 5 months ago. And with sport climbing, feeling good, felt super strong coming back into bouldering. And then I got this weird hand injury that has been kind of funny. I'm like just hopefully on like the back end of it now. But I joke, I went to 2 different physical therapists and both of them were like, oh, this is super interesting. I've never seen this before. And I was like, if you could sound a little less excited, be a little more present with me, that'd be great. Like
sticking your head out the door. Hey, guys, come in here. You got to see this.
Exactly. Like, oh, wow. I'm going to talk to some friends about this. Like, and it was good. That was a good thing for me to go through because there's times as a coach where I'm super excited. I'm like, oh, wow, I've never seen someone who like moves like this with this attribute. And maybe I'm going to reword my phrasing.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't really climb for most of the last 2 months. Like very, very, nothing harder than V5.
Wow.
It was all just rehab work and a lot of kind of shooting in the dark and seeing what would come of it of like, okay, let's try this for a full month. Okay, 0 response. Like nothing's happening with my hand. Let's try something else. Oh. And then
so it was like a mystery injury? Like what did you figure out?
Still don't know. What? It was the kind of like, it's super strange. I don't know. And it's been weird. I've had 2, I mean, last year, this time I had a weird thing that I thought was my knuckle that just ached 24/7 for almost 6 months and ended up being nerve related. And then once I learned it was nerve related and started doing a lot of neck work, that went away like overnight.
Wow.
This has not, unfortunately. But yeah, I don't know. It's really strange. Can't fully explain it, but I've been kind of testing through things. And 2 weeks before I left for Waco, I was talking with Paul Hogogi and he was like, okay, here's a direction we can go. Here are my thoughts. Let's try this. And that has seemingly been moving me in a good direction. So yeah, big thanks to Paul. But yeah, so I went there. Initially, I was like, oh, well, I agreed to this trip like 5 months ago. Like Airbnb's paid for. Like, okay, let's go.
It'd be like a hiking trip, or it's going to be a climbing trip. You didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, and I love the desert. Like it's so beautiful out there that I was like, it's going to be fun no matter what. Worst case, I go hang out with friends. But it was a ton of fun. Like I went out and something really special kind of happened in the sense that I showed up so deconditioned, which is a nice way of saying horrifically out of shape. Dude, day one, just doing my normal warm-ups, I was wrecked. Like halfway through the day, I was like, I can't, like I just did warm-ups in like with long rests, can't do anything after. So I was like, okay, like this is what we have to work with. And what was really cool was for some reason, I think maybe because of the people I was with or just because I came in with low expectations, I was like, all right, like this is where my body's at. Let's just see what we can do. And yeah, so kind of climbed around, ended up finding something that was moderately challenging, very challenging for how out of shape I felt. And yeah, so I started trying that. Day one, couldn't do all of the moves. There's a V5 stand start that I couldn't do because I was just like, dude, I like haven't tried this hard in so long. But woke up the next day super sore, but my finger felt fine. And I was still just spamming the rehab. And I was like, okay, like I'm going to take recovery seriously. I'm going to go out. I don't have many goes every day that I try this. So I'm going to be just as optimistic as I can. I'm going to use great tactics, use a lot of mental rehearsal before every single go. You know, day two, barely had any attempts just because like I didn't have the fitness for it. But I was like, okay, cool. Like I've done most of the moves now. Long story short, ended up getting done on day 4.
I think you shared a video yesterday, maybe. Yeah. It was a V10. Is that right?
Yeah, like something maybe in the V9, V10-ish range. Yeah. Called Low Dryer.
Amazing, dude. You climb into kind of like, it looked pretty steep. You climb into then what ultimately was like the stand start. I think you posted about that you could like fully numbed out and basically just like held on for dear life in order to go to the top.
It was actually kind of funny. I was like, while I was out there, I was, I don't know, reminiscing about a decade I had spent out there. And it's funny because so much of my time in Waco, I would sport climb all year essentially, and then come out there. And so for the longest time since I've like started climbing, when I sport climb, people are like, oh, you must be a boulderer because that's how you move. And then when I go bouldering, people are like, you're a sport climber. I can tell.
Right.
Oh, no, let me be something.
Yeah. What am I?
Yeah. But I had like posted an old video and a buddy of mine reached out and he was like, dude, you are such a sport climber. And this was something from like 2013. And I was like, yeah, that's right. Like I think I do well when I boulder as a sport climber, as silly as that sounds. Yeah. And when I went to go send this boulder low dryer, like right before I left the ground, I was like, okay, just sport climb it. Like that's all I need to do. Cause it is, I mean, it's probably like maybe 30 feet of climbing. It's very steep and kind of circuitous in essentially a roof boulder. Like you don't go more than, I don't know, maybe 13 feet off the ground from where you start to the top, but it's a lot of movement. Yeah. I was like, okay, like just hang on. I don't believe in punting. It's not going to happen. I've done the prep work and keep going. And yeah, my hands went completely numb, like 8 moves in. And there's like a handful of like one-handed jugs on the 5 and I could like stop and pause. And I was like, okay, well, they're not getting less numb. So let's just try and go.
Dude, way to go, man. Congratulations. Last day, thanks. Last go. Classic.
Yeah. No, it was great. And more than anything, it's funny because I feel like actually sending it was a bit anticlimactic for me. Like just, like, okay, like the first 3 days of going out there, putting in the work, there's this idea that I like a lot that I try and share with the people I coach. It's this idea of collecting rejections. Have we ever talked about this?
No.
Okay. So I initially got it from, because I steal everything, I got it from writers. There's a woman who wrote this amazing article that she was talking about collecting rejections and like how
rejection letters from publishers or something. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And there's this apocryphal story of Stephen King where he just kept submitting his stories, to magazines, books, like publishers, whatever. And he had a nail on his wall. Every time he would get a rejection letter, he would put it on the nail. And eventually, as the story goes, there were so many that the nail pulled out of the wall. And supposedly, he just went out, got a bigger nail, hammered it in, and kept writing. And she was just what? She was like, this doesn't even have to be a true story. It's a great story.
Right.
So she made herself a goal of, I'm going to collect rejections. I want whatever it is, 100 rejections this year. Like basically just, am I putting shots down range?
Mm-hmm.
And I love that idea so much. So I wanted to create my own. And in my mind, and also I'd love feedback from you or from anyone, but to me, what a rejection is in climbing is all of the days that are sandwiched between the day you open a project and the day you send it. Because day one, dude, that's not a rejection. You're going out, you're just testing it out. It's fun. Like there's no pressure. And the day you send it, well, of course, that's not a rejection. So it's everything in between. So for me on this, there were 2 rejections essentially. Like the day I opened it, not a rejection, and the day I sent it. So there's those 2 in the middle. And those are the ones that to me, those are what matter. Because that's when you go in, you're like, oh, I don't know. And that's when you're doing the work. Like you're trying it. I mean, day 3, even towards the end, especially because this is on a guided tour. So I had 90 minutes for my session before we needed to go to the other, someone else's project. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, let's figure out what we can. I didn't have enough time. Like, and I knew it right from the outset. I was like, I don't have enough time to sit here, take lovely 10-minute rests between every single go. I need to be as effective as I can with every go. And like, I'm not going to be able to answer every question. And even going into day 4, when I went to send it, I was like, I don't know everything. I know I don't, but I know how to execute on rock climbs and I know how to mentally rehearse a lot. So by the time day 4 rolled around, I had run it through my head, probably like 50 times. So it felt like I had done it for the 51st time.
Right.
But yeah, to me, that was what felt so fun was, collecting rejections. Like day 2 and day 3 where I was like, yikes, this feels hard. It was kind of fun because when I would reflect on my own shape, I was like, okay, I am super deconditioned, but I was never thinking, if only I was in shape. Like I would just look at it as like, okay, these are the stats on my baseball card right now. I've got 2 out of 20 stamina. This is all I can do. Like
right.
I can't control it. And who knows when I'm going to come back. I want it done now. So it was great. It was a ton of fun. I had a great blast, a lot of good friends. So
What do you think as you reflect on it? It's still fresh, although you had 16 hours of drive time to reflect.
Yeah.
But, from going from getting wrecked in your warm-ups, as you said, on day 1, not even be able to finish a day of kind of warm-ups, and then on your last day, putting together a V double-digit or thereabouts send, what does change in that time? You collected a couple days of rejections. Likely, to your point, the stats on the baseball card didn't change all that much. You weren't gaining a ton of stamina or strength or fitness or whatever, likely in that time. So what was it?
I mean, because I hadn't tried any hard moves in 2 months or like 2.5 really. I was getting more recruited for sure. Like it's like, okay, body's remembering how to try hard, which also I think is a huge thing for anyone who comes back from injury. You can be 100% recovered and still be hesitant. I was not recovered and hesitant, right. But yeah, so I was feeling a little bit better each day, but also just being tactical, which to me is one of the funnest things of like, okay, what is the least I can do for warming up or on all of my rest days? I mean, if I was the second, I would be done climbing. I mean, I think day 2, I was the first person to climb. So we went, warmed up. I went there. The second my session was over, man, I packed 3 burritos that day and like a gallon of water. I was like, okay, my rest day starts right now. Like I'm eating a bunch of food. I'm drinking water. I am like stretching. I am just being as low key as I can, already taking care of skin. So I was trying to just maximize all of those gaps. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Not a ton changed. Like, it's funny. I like day 4 warmed up, went over, open pads, did it first go. And then I woke up yesterday and I was so sore from and that was it. I was done climbing for the whole day. Like I warmed up, did 1 go. And then it was actually a ton of fun. There were 3 of us who had projects we wanted to get to. We started at 8 a.m. when the park opened and we like left right before it closed at 6 p.m. because we were like, okay, we got to get all over, a massive expansive distance. So we were just Okay, warm up, go over, get the pads down. I fired it. All right, cool. Pack up the pads. We're going over. I warmed up, did one go, and I was wrecked the next day.
That's great, dude. I mean, you left it all out there. I mean, it's just so interesting. I haven't done a lot of trips myself. I just came off of a trip to Vegas where I got hurt, and we can talk through that and maybe at some point here. But I want to stay on your trip here. But because I haven't done a whole lot of bouldering trips specifically, I have done quite a few like sport climbing or multi-pitch climbing trips. But on the bouldering trips, it's still a little bit of a mystery to me on how to kind of perform the best, because same thing with me. Like, even if I'm just doing, one boulder and I try really hard on a couple of them, I would just like feel so worked the next day. Yeah. And then oftentimes the next day is still a climb day, and the next day is still a climb day, and then I get on a plane or whatever. And so it is interesting for me, like on a trip, I kind of want to, my eyes are bigger than my body, I guess, is like, I just have all these things I want to do, injury aside from this last trip to Vegas. But like on other trips, it's just, there's just so much in my mind I'm sending or trying. And then, the reality is like, there's just not that many like 100% goes that at least I have in my body. Maybe there's a way to prepare better leading up to it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. You really only have so many great goes in a day. I mean, and the tough thing too with bouldering, especially trips, is that you want to do everything. Like anytime someone is telling me they're going to Waco, one of the first things I say, if they're like, okay, I'm going to be there for 5 days, I want to climb 4 of them. Any advice? First off is don't climb on everything unless that's your goal. If you're like, hey, I want to just go climb easy mods all day long, just as many moderate climbs as I can till my hands bleed, get it. I mean, let me tell you, that'll be a great time. Like, I have no beef with that. Climbing's fun. It's why we do it. And boulders have such a low threshold to try. If you're in Vegas, so you're at the Monkey Bar Boulder, and let's say if you climbed, not Skyline, what is the thing that you fell on?
The Hyperglide.
Yeah, let's say if you climb that and your friends were still hanging around, you could be like, oh, well, I'll try Monkey Bar Right. I'll try Monkey Bar Direct. I'll try... Totally. You can just try like anything, because you don't have to tie in. You don't have to hang draws. There's not a pressure of, if you're sport climbing, I can't just be like, oh, I'm just going to hop on this 14D. My belayer's going to be like, dog, we've got like an agenda today. Right. Like, no, I could go over and try lucid dreaming or whatever if I'm on the other side, in the buttermilks. Yeah. And like, oh no, I drag a pad over, I pull off the ground, I fall. Of course I will. And then I just pack my stuff up and leave. There was zero cost to go attempt that. And I think there's something really cool about that with bouldering, but it makes it so easy to get so smoked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The cost is in skin and power and recovery and all of that. Yeah, it's not much of a cost of time, but yeah, I mean, I experience the same thing when I go to the gym. Whatever, there's a new setup, or if I'm just doing a board session with friends, there requires much more discipline as a boulderer to kind of moderate how much volume or kind of stoke you're willing to throw at it. I had an interview recently with somebody, I think it might have been Ethan Pringle. I don't exactly recall. I think it might have been Ethan Pringle though, but basically like the line was like, Stoke is one of the most dangerous things for a climber or whatever, because it's just basically like, especially when you get out somewhere new, or the crew and everybody's just raging. It's just so tempting to keep going. And to your point, maybe you just do. Maybe you're just like, it's fine. I'm just going to like bury myself, because then I'm going to go home and sit for 2 weeks at my desk and catch up on work or whatever. But it is a calculated risk we have to take.
No, absolutely. And it's tough because it's fun. Also, God forbid you're a sport climber. If you try one hard power move on a boulder, you're like, well, I'm not pumped. I can try it again.
Right.
Which, for anyone who hears that and thinks, what's wrong with that? You should never get pumped bouldering on like a one move problem. If you try a one move so many times in succession that you get pumped, oh no, like you went so far. But yeah, I know Yves Gravel in one of his like arm lifting videos talked about how a lot of great strength athletes are like quote unquote lazy because, they'll do a lift and then they're just like hanging out. It's a lot of rest. Years ago, back when I was guiding in Hueco Tanks, there's a group of college kids I took out and they were like, oh man, there's this like guy who trains with us, and he's like coming in tomorrow, but he's like, he would be so good if he just actually trained like how we do. Mind you, they're all climbing like V5, V6. So we're going to make some connections here. But they were like, yeah, like he'll just like show up to the gym, you know, maybe 3 days a week for only 2 hours. He'll warm up, repeat all the hard things, but like sitting around for like 5 minutes between all of them, just hanging out, talking. Maybe he'll try a project for, 20, 30 minutes, and then he just goes home. Like if he really trained, I mean, like, cause we're there for like 6 hours a day. Right. And I was like, I think I know why he's so much stronger. Like, right. But yeah, it's just the difference between volume and really potency, this like high intensity efforts. And to them, it looked like laziness because, they were a bunch of 20-year-old overstokers who were like, I mean, he doesn't even burn out with pull-ups at the end of a session. Like he's not a real rock climber, frankly, and then he came out and was like doing V12 in a session type of thing. It's like, yeah, I think he might be onto something.
This episode is brought to you by our friends over at Scarpa, the best dang climbing and approach shoes in the entire game. And by the way, they're Hook and Struggle listeners up with a really cool gift. I'm going to tell you about that in a second. But first, I want to tell you about this article that just came out in Climbing Magazine where they named their top shoes of 2025. And what they selected as their best training shoe is one of my personal favorite shoes, and that's the Veloce L, the lace-ups. And I'm going to quote this article here. They say, "We love the Veloce L for everything from parkoury slab to cave bouldering to long overhanging 512, 513 lead routes. And we found them to be consistently responsive, comfy, and unshakable." And I got to tell you, that's been my experience too. I use them on the board, I use them on the slabs, and I've used them on long, overhung, pumpy climbs out here at the Red. The Veloce L's are my go-to everything shoe, and Scarpa's hooking you up right now. If you buy yourself a new pair of climbing shoes, approach shoes, or trail runners, and you use code STRUGGLE at checkout, not only does it help the show, which I really appreciate, but if you live in the US, you're going to get yourself a free gift with that purchase while supplies last, and that is a 5-panel hat. It's a customized hat with a Struggle logo, a Scarpa logo. It's lightweight. It's going to keep the sun off your face at the crag there, or if you're just having a bad hair day like I am pretty much every day, you can toss on this free hat. It's free. You get it for free. If you live in the US and you buy yourself a pair of shoes, use code STRUGGLE at checkout to score that free hat. That link's right there in your show notes. I love you. All right, y'all, I just want to take a quick second to talk about this partnership that I've got going with Kilter. It has blown my mind, you guys, how fast I've gotten stronger and more powerful, not just on boulders, but also as a route climber by training on my Kilter in my basement just a couple times a week for like an hour each time. So we're talking like a couple hours a week, and I'm now sending projects outside that are harder and doing them faster than I ever imagined I could. And I'm not just talking about like bouldery projects, but also long, like endurance projects. I'm just much stronger and more confident as a climber now, having spent these sessions on my Kilter full ride. And I put it in my basement where I have pretty low ceilings. I did a creative build where I hinge it from the top. I did a whole video on that. And the team at Kilter is incredibly helpful. So I know it's a big ticket purchase. Obviously, not everybody listening to this right now can have a Kilter board. But if you have the means, I could not recommend this board enough. I've got the 10x10. It's got nearly 400 holds on it. It's got like 15,000 climbs in the database. The community is incredible. And I'm just having so much fun and getting so strong as a climber on this board. I'm going to put a link in the show notes for you. If you use code STRUGGLE, you can get up to $1,000 off your setup. And I've heard from a bunch of you who have done that already, which is awesome. I'm glad you're saving money. And I'm even more glad that you're getting strong and having fun with your training on your own Kilter board. If you've got any questions at all, you can hit me up. You can hit up Kyle over at Kilter. I'm going to put all that information in there. I'm telling you, this Kilter full ride is a board unlike anything else you will ever climb on. It is that good. I have discovered for me that this like bouldering phase that I'm in, I don't know how long it's going to last, Nate. I don't know, but I'm also pretty fresh off of this like frustrating injury from Vegas. But yeah, it's definitely like I'm spending so much less time training over the last 6 months as I'm saving a lot of time because I've got a Kilter board in my basement now, which is nice. So I save on really nice. And all that. But still, like a session is an hour. Whereas when I'm in full sport climbing training mode and I'm doing a lot on maybe the tread wall or I'm doing routes or auto belays or whatever, it's a couple hours kind of at a minimum there. And so the time investment is much less, but definitely like I'm really like taxing my body. And I think I've been smart about how much I've been resting and all that. I'm stronger than I've ever been. I'm doing like I had the best sport climbing season I've had in, I mean, it's up there. I didn't push my top end grade higher, but I almost did. And I just like sent a lot of things fast. And so,
yeah, I heard you did A, B, C, and D all in a season.
Yeah. Which is like really
that's great,
cool.
Man.
First time that's happened for me, and only my second D with Maisie May. And I don't know, that's everybody kind of takes whatever grade they kind of want on that one. But for me, it was a proud send because it was very much a Boulder problem.
I personally think it's very hard.
And shortly after that, Bare Metal Teen, which was like a nemesis project for me. I mean, I sent the force, and then like the best I did on bare metal that same season when I had the best fitness probably of my life was a 2-hang. And so, to then be able to go and send that one, it was such a good season. And then doing Wild Gift was rad. I mean, it was a very, very fulfilling season. And I think a lot of it was a result of just doing so much on the Kilter board, which was really cool for me to see. But as I've now gotten psyched on outdoor boulder projects or outdoor bouldering, that's where I'm starting to like wonder, really just how much I'm going to be able to throw myself into that, I guess. And again, this is still fresh off of just taking what might have just been a totally fluke fall and maybe it'll never happen again. But I am curious from your perspective now, how old are you?
37.
So 37. So the last time you were in Hueco Tanks was you were 30, right? So it's a big...
Yeah. I turned 30 on that last trip.
A big difference there. And we can talk a little bit about my experience, but like, I'm just curious about your experience now as somebody who's inching towards 40. But again, I mean, you still got a few years. I don't want to wrap you into my 40s bucket just yet. But I mean, it's different. It's different than when you're in your 20s or maybe early 30s as we kind of push into our like later 30s, 40s, 50s. And I since posting my video about the injury, I've just heard from so many climbers that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s and beyond. And the perspectives come from all over the place. But a bit of a common thread has been like, yeah, I do a lot of like bouldering in the gym to train, but I'm pretty mindful about how much bouldering I do outside, or I do a lot of bouldering on a rope outside and really dial it in before I started. And so, whether it's yourself or clients that you work with, like, is there any kind of conclusions to be drawn or a conversation around outdoor bouldering, kind of taking the indoor bouldering out of the equation? Although we can't talk about that because some gym sets now set really weird cruxes at 16 feet. And so while the pads are significantly better than pads outside, you can still take like really weird falls at a gym if you're like risking the biscuit for the pink problem in the corner. But yeah, what are your thoughts around any of that?
Totally. Yeah, I'll start at the end and come backwards. So first off, gyms, they're too tall. Like, just putting that out there. I was just talking with Jesse.
Gyms. Yep.
Yeah, I was just chatting with Jesse Firestone about this. It's just like, dude, they don't need to be that tall. Like, I regularly talk to clients who will be like, man, I wish I was different because I get scared when I'm, when there's a big jump move going to the lip, which is like 14 and a half, 15 feet. They're like, I get scared and I wish I wasn't. And I was like, okay, first off, this is a survival mechanism that is tall. And realistically, if I was doing a sideways dyno at 15 feet outdoors, I am doing so much prep ahead of time. Maybe I'm doing that once a season, if then, but I'm rehearsing on a rope. I'm getting all of my friends' crash pads together. It is a huge deal. But in the climbing gym, you're doing that 9 times a day. Like,
right.
I don't think gyms need to be that tall. Also, if you look at what is effective for training, and obviously we can differentiate between, hey, here's what's fun and here's what is good training. To me, if I want good training while bouldering, I should be able to pull on from the ground and reach most of the moves. Like, I'm a huge fan of whenever people build boards and their pads are higher than the kicker, or if it's just a tiny board. But for me, it makes no sense to have something, if I'm going to limit boulder, to where I need to do 2 or 3 moves just to reach my limit move. Mm-hmm. That's bad for practice. It's bad for just trying hard and getting stronger. But, big tall walls are fun to climb on and they're very pretty. So they're 2 different things. So going back to, I guess, just kind of, aging with bouldering, if we look at longevity, generally speaking in sports, something really cool is happening when we look at a lot of the research now. What we're really seeing is that, it's kind of what a lot of us know, but like, it's not so much that, oh no, you are now whatever, 30 or 40, your body is now decrepit and it's just on this steep downward slope. I have someone I'm working with right now who's in his 50s trying to climb his first double-digit boulder, and he is so active, so stoked, getting after it. And man, he is more robust and capable of climbing on outdoor boulders than plenty of the 30-year-olds that I meet. It really is a matter of like just, staying fit and staying with it. I think we're going to see more and more longevity in sport with time. I do also think smarter training goes a long way. Like, it is tough. I saw your post. You talked about how, you played college sports. Like, and you're like, maybe this is something that was related to that. Like, yeah, if you beat yourself up really hard when you're young, like, yeah, maybe that's something you're going to have to like work around over time. But also it's like you built a huge athletic base when you were young. And so you get to really benefit from that. That's enormous versus so many people who don't start trying to be athletic till they're, maybe mid 30s or later. Like, man, muscle builds a lot faster when you're a teenager.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting that like I've seen, as active as I've been now as a climber, that there's no contest. I'm in better shape now than I've ever been in my life, including when I was playing organized sports and on a hockey team and a lacrosse team and all of that. I just take better care of myself and in terms of diet and sleep, but also I'm just more focused on my training and it's very consistent. And so I feel the best I've ever felt just in terms of kind of day-to-day robustness. And as a climber, as we've talked about, the work that I put in on the Kilter board and just like with weights and that kind of thing. But I posted this video kind of in the aftermath of me getting hurt out in Vegas. And one of the strongest choruses, and there was just like loads of comments that came in, which was really wonderful. A lot of comments of support but then a very kind of strong demarcation was made from the people who were commenting about the difference between bouldering indoors and bouldering outdoors. And I have to admit, like, maybe I'm just like, I was just naive or something like that. I actually hadn't put much thought into that. I was like, well, you go outside and you lay out the pads and it's like kind of like, you're doing a board session, but it's outside. But that's not true, as I discovered when I got hurt, is that the padding is very different indoors as outdoors, and the landings and the spotting and, just, I don't know, the kind of the environment in general. Maybe you can speak, obviously you can speak more to this than I can, but it was just one of these things that kind of smacked me in the face, Nate, where I was like, oh yeah, outdoor bouldering is different. Because a lot of people would be like, stay bouldering inside, Ryan. It's going to make you stronger than ever. And then, when you go outside, get on a rope. And I'm not necessarily, that's not the position I'm taking, because I'm pretty psyched on some outdoor bouldering, but maybe I was I was doing myself a disservice by not putting more thought into what it would take to boulder outdoors and stay like strong and healthy and injury free. And is that a fair demarcation that these people were making? And how do you think about those things?
All right, I got a few thoughts. First off, I think I could be totally wrong on this, but it makes sense that those are the voices you would hear a lot of. In the same way, if you look at reviews, like most people who are leaving reviews for things, it's negative reviews.
Right.
Like, yeah, if I also got hurt bouldering outside, I'd be like, yes, I agree. But I saw your post and I was like, oh man, I'm real, like, that sucks. I'm really bummed. And then I swipe and I see, like a Kanye video. I'm like, cute bird,
right.
Social media. So it doesn't surprise me that you got a lot of responses like that. Second off, in terms of the idea of, okay, we'll just stay indoors, like boulder indoors, sport climb outside. I think that can, if your only goal was sport climbing, I think that can be kind of fine. But if your goal is to climb outside on boulders, there's this quote from Dan John that I love. That is, if you want to be outstanding in your field, you need to be outstanding in your field. So whatever your field is, and this can be different for anyone. Like if you want to get good at sport climbing, your field that you need to be standing in is you need to be tying into a rope and you need to be lead climbing. You need to be on the sharp end, pushing yourself there. If your field is outdoor bouldering, you need to be outdoor bouldering. Like, I heard your conversation is either in one of your plogs, or the Kukovic one, but you were just talking about like, it's weird falling off of an outdoor boulder and like onto the pads. And even though my feet were only 4 feet off of the ground, you have to get used to these things. You have to get used to knowing, where do I put a pad? Like, how far back do I actually swing if I swing off of a climb? Okay, there's a little uneven landing here. How do I deal with that? So I do think, if you want to be outstanding in your field, you have to be outstanding in your field. Mm-hmm. So for you, if you want to climb outdoor boulders, even if it's just one of them, I think you need to be climbing outdoor boulders. We can talk more about that. But the other thing is, I would argue outdoor bouldering, you can make so much safer and like cozier than indoor bouldering, because so many outdoor boulders are super tiny. Like what I was saying earlier, like this idea of a 15 foot, like a dynoing 15 feet off the ground. Brother, I don't do that anymore. Like,
right.
Yeah, I just don't. It doesn't excite me anymore. I like big numbers low to the ground. Like you can stay closer to the ground outdoors than you ever do indoors if we're talking about like actually trying to send things. I mean, so many climbs, you just don't have to get that high up. I think you can make it incredibly safe. It doesn't have to, you don't have to climb tall things. So
yeah,
I think
it's easy
to balance.
That was a common refrain as well, which again is like kind of a Captain Obvious to me in hindsight. But a lot of people were like, I'm 50 years old. I love bouldering outside, but I just, have really found the Stoke on some Lowballs and, low roofs or things that all the business is in the first 5 feet, and then it's a V0 to the top, and that makes sense too, because I wasn't selecting boulders that way. I was just like selecting boulders on either what was kind of considered classic or what was in the shade, or just like what looked sick. So like Angel Dino, I was like, I got to check out Angel Dino. That looks sick, and so I did, and that was fun, and I didn't get injured on that one. Of course, I got injured on the next one. And Hyperglide is a tall boulder, but I didn't get injured coming off high per se. I mean, I think the fall was probably only like 4 or 5 feet from where my toes were. So, but yeah, I mean, maybe it's, there's even safer ways, I guess, to boulder outside, or maybe I'm just, this is an N=1 kind of experience, Nate. And so like, as I noted in my blog, I've currently injured my back the same amount of times bouldering as sneezing in the shower. It's one each. So maybe I need to see boulder injuries tick up a little bit more before I make like sweeping changes to my goals.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm sure any physical therapist listening to this will say low back pain. Anything can happen. Oh yeah, you sneezed in the shower, which also terrifying because then you get off balance with your eyes closed in the shower. That's like one of my greatest fears.
Right.
Like I don't want to become a statistic, but yeah, dude, low back pain can just kind of happen to people. Like it's one of those things. It sucks. It's unfortunate, but yeah, if it didn't happen on Hyperglide, like who knows? It could have been getting your luggage off the carousel when you got back home. Like obviously lifting, being athletic, becoming more robust, that helps reduce the likelihood of these things, but we aren't machines. You can't give a perfect input and say, okay, cool, I don't get injured anymore. Like nothing happens.
Well, but let me play devil's advocate for a second, if I could.
Please.
Because, it's like the statistic of, getting attacked by a shark is really small. But if you're a surfer, it's a lot higher. Like a lot of people, the statistic is that because a lot of people don't get in the ocean. And so, yes, I agree with all the things that you just said. But let's just kind of play devil's advocate for a minute on the bouldering side. If for the predominance of my outdoor climbing career, I have not taken ground falls because I'm on a rope. And sometimes you get spiked into the wall or whatever, but for the most part, especially at the Red with all the steep climbs, like you're just kind of bouncing into space, and it's a very low impact way to come off of a rock. If now I'm saying, well, I'm psyched on outdoor bouldering, and all of a sudden I'm taking loads of ground falls, even if they're padded well and spotted well and that kind of thing, there is going to be additional stresses that are put on my body at 46 years old, as robust as it is, and the weight training I'm doing and all of that. And so I guess make a case for me to continue to boulder outside and not just on my Kilter board.
Okay. First off, Kilter board, totally fine. Here's my case. I think now what you're saying, I think is totally fair. Also, there are plenty of people who didn't deal with jarring sports growing up, which honestly, even just running, like distance running, is a jarring sport. Literally every step is jarring. Here's my argument for outdoor bouldering. I had a buddy who has this idea that there are two types of people. There are two types of boulderers in the world. There are the French and there are the British. The British, and this is generalizing, it's him, not me. They like movement. And like, dude, because you can see so many British people, like you look at them climbing on and they have good rock, but like they're limestone, like power bands, dude. And they're doing these things. You're just like, this is so gnarly looking. Like it doesn't look attractive, but the movement looks cool. And you hear them, they're like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. And they're so psyched. Like I would classify myself as this. I love good movement. And then in his idea, the French are like, oh, here's this big 24-foot arête. Like this is what a line looks like. The movement is secondary. And I will say, if you are trying to climb classics as they are described, by guidebooks or generally by other people, I think you are at a massive disadvantage if you don't climb hard. There are a lot of things. Life gets way better when you climb harder. But one of them, dude, if you climb V5 or under and you want to climb the highest star rating, whatever it is, 3 or 5 stars, you want to climb a classic, it's going to be giant. Because the person who wrote that guidebook or who is grading or who is, giving ratings, they're probably a strong climber. Yeah. If I'm climbing V12 and I'm like, oh, wow, this 40-foot V0 is so cool, 5 stars, I will never let a V0 climber on that. Like they're going to die.
Right.
So but when you get up to hard grades, oh man, I can do pretty short, hyper classic V10s and V9s and the harder it gets, the lower to the ground you get to stay while the stars stay high. There's like this weird inverse, but yeah, it is such an unfortunate thing that if you're like, oh, I want to go climb a bunch of V3 classics, they're going to be enormous because we put this weird emphasis on height of this, grandness of, oh, that's what makes a good boulder. I personally don't feel that way. I don't think height adds value. I think longer climbing might. But yeah, I just don't think height makes a good problem. I prefer good movement. People don't always love the boulders I recommend for that reason, because I'll be like, hey, here's this thing. It's only 8 feet tall, but it's going to be some of the funnest movement you've ever done. But I think you can really enjoy bouldering, get really strong, get really good from it without ever having to put yourself in a highly compromised situation.
Cool perspective, Nate. I appreciate that. Yeah, that is an argument for the traverse. This is, I had the conversation with Will Bosey and Adam Andra about Terra Nova. That
exactly, that is a British boulder.
It's a British boulder by your kind of definition there. It's just like random start point, random end point, traverse, but the movement's like wild drop knees and
crazy,
like drive-bys and barn doors and all sorts of wild stuff. But yeah, you're not standing on top of a 25-foot stunning block at the end of it.
I don't even know if you climb above eye level.
I don't think so. Literally like 6 inches off the ground. That's like, I need to find like the V8 version of that, basically.
Dude, they exist. They're all over the place. And there's plenty of, the Orb is a good example in Rocktown. 90% of that climb, you are below eye level. Like your eyes are below eye level for most of that climb. And then you roll over and you do, I don't know, a V4 upper sequence. But even then, dude, you could jump with your feet on the top of the boulder, off onto pads, and you would be completely fine. That's not that tall, right? Because it's a harder climb. So you get more stars. It's also very pretty. It's very fun, but you're not going to find many easy climbs that get that, but they're there. Like there are so many amazing V1s and 2s and 3s that are not tall that have incredible movement, great stone, everything going for it other than height. And they're just not going to get the same star rating. So you can find these things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a cool perspective, dude. I appreciate that. I think that is, the argument for outdoor bouldering, at least for me right now. I mean, I am attracted to the high thing that I want to like to stand on top of something. There's a climb. I think it's like V2 maybe up in Leavenworth, Sleeping Lady. It's like comes out of
over a river.
Yeah, it comes out of the river.
I mean, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
It's freaking cool, dude. I mean, like, and it'd probably be like V0, in a gym, but it's like rated R, so there's high consequence, but that kind of interests me in that is more of a mental crux than anything, the moves.
Yeah.
The moves it would be, again, V0 probably if it was just like a flat landing, but taking that out of the equation, like these kind of stunning, picturesque things that maybe invite risk as a part of the experience, I think what you're saying just does make a lot of sense. I can find some outdoor boulders that challenge me as a kind of tactician in terms of learning better heel hooks or movement or nuance or tension without it necessarily inviting a whole lot of potential injury risk. But I don't know where that puts me with the Bulldog boulder, because that's the hard moves are down low on that, which is good, good news. And I took the fall not too long ago from the lip. I made it up to the lip on the V6. I'm calling it Puppy Dog. On Puppy Dog, I made it up to the lip and then kind of came exploding off. And it was the best thing that could have happened because I was totally fine and totally psyched. And so that up until kind of getting injured in Red Rock, that was such a good experience because I was very scared of falling off that lip because there's a tree there and it's just kind of slopey and all that. But now I'm like, ooh, how much do I want to take that fall? And so I'm kind of like the thing that I'm kicking around in my mind because I'm really psyched on the boulder and just cannot, it's buried under snow and ice right now, but I cannot wait to get out there again on it. I'm thinking like, okay, how much value is there to trying the top out or trying those moves? I did everything on Puppy Dog except for Top It Out, which is, again, not a gimme because it's as you know, it's a kind of a slopey, mantle-y thing. But do I just move over to Bulldog now and just start working on the V8 and basically like only top it once? Like, is the only other time that I'm up there again, the time that I'm hopefully like, putting my feet on top of the boulder?
I would say no. I would say go, like, you can go work on the bottom. A couple things. I mean, if you want to run a rope on the top, do it. You can also, I mean, I don't know how big of a vehicle you have and how many crash pads you can fit in it, but you can also like double up crash pads. I mean, that's anytime I do something that feels mildly high, or if I'm just trying to get over kind of a mental hurdle of like, oh, I don't know, I'll just double up the crash pads. And since you're not a boulder, when you double them, make sure they're going crisscross over each other so the seams don't overlap. Like, you don't want them all to be running parallel where you can just drop through the bottom right in the middle. Also, do you own a blubber pad, like a top layer?
I do.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, you're set. But I would say if you need to, like, get extra pads, borrow some from friends. I have done this before. I when I wanted to do a high ball in the Southeast, I like couldn't rally enough people. So I was like, okay, are you using your crash pads Wednesday? No? All right. And I like drove around, picked up pads from all my friends, filled my entire back of my minivan, like seats out with it, and just took like 6 trips to this boulder by myself. And then hilariously, when I got there was a massive crew, but I was just like, lugging pads out. I was like, that's fine. Like, I have control over what's happening today. And, I managed to bring out like 10 crash pads with me.
So you like the idea then of finding a way to make it as safe as possible, but actually taking the time to, or putting in the commitment to try to top out the V6 variation, essentially try to send the V6 and work the top so that when, hopefully, knock wood, I'm able to link together the harder V8 moves, it's more of a higher probability that I'll be able to actually then top it.
Absolutely. Yeah. 2 thoughts here. One is, I would say also if you do make a trip down to Chattanooga for bouldering, I can give you some recommendations, but I would go do some mantle boulders down there. There are so many climbs that you can do that are literally chest height that you will be cursing at because they're just like heinous top outs that are going to be so much harder than the Bulldog top out. And you can go get a ton of reps in an incredibly safe way. And then you'll go back, you'll be like, oh, actually, this is totally fine. I think that could be a good way to go about it. With Topouts, practice is huge. The other thing that I find Mantles and Slabs have this in common, you just have to stay calm and breathe. Like, it's really hard to fall off of a mantle in the sense that you just lay there, like put more skin on the rock. Like, if you take your time, a lot of people, have you ever done off with climbing?
A bit. Yeah. Not a lot.
Yeah. Good. You shouldn't. But
Right.
you don't want to fight when you're off withing. Like, it should be, it's like, okay, we're taking our time. We're very deliberate with the movement. If you try and turn that rock climb into a wrestling match, you're going to lose every time.
Mm-hmm.
Mantles are the same. Like, it seems like one of those things you're like, I'm going to get up there, I'm going to grovel. It's like, no, you're not. You're going to take your time. You're going to get up, shift left, shift right. Which one makes it feel like you can keep making upward progress? Oh, okay. We've moved right now. Which limb is the lightest? Well, I've got all my weight on my right hand. Let's move the left. Maybe can I get a little further there? Take your time. You can hang out on a mantle for an eternity because you're kind of draped on it.
Right.
The biggest mistake I see people make with hard mantles is they try and rush it and they try and fight them. Like, you really don't have to. But yeah, so I would say going to Chattanooga, practicing mantles would be a great way to go, just so that it feels a lot better.
Yeah. I love that idea. And it is drier down in Chattanooga right now. So, I mean, it's still been meaning to go down there and check out Tractor Trailer and a bunch of the other things that you've recommended. In fact, I was supposed to go a couple weeks ago, and then that like massive snowstorm came through and we all just scuttled the trip. I ended up booking the Vegas trip instead. Let me ask you a super noob question.
Please.
Older noob here. When falling, when coming off and kind of planning how to best land, I was, as you saw probably in the video where I got injured, is I was kind of just trying to land on my feet and bend my legs, but like stay standing, which is what I would do at the gym or if I'm on my Kilter board. But then others were saying, deeper squat, try to roll onto the back, don't try to remain upright, try not to fold. I mean, I guess everybody's anatomy is different, but are there some general thoughts that I should keep in mind or maybe even practice at the gym before then going back out to Bulldog?
I love this. 2-second tangent before we get into this, because there's a lot of people listening right now who might be like in their 20s and they're like, this is all just like old man advice. Okay. Because like when you're young, like, yeah, you just kind of bounce back from a lot. But if you actually optimize, you'll be doing great. I used to have this mindset of, ooh, I get away with it. Like, I don't have to get great sleep. Like, I can get away with it. Like, you're not getting away with anything. You're just underperforming. Like, you're not as punished as older people are. But it's like, you could be thriving.
And it'll catch up to you, essentially, you're saying.
Well, I mean, it'll catch up, but also it's like, I don't know. Like, I look back, I used to just like not pay attention to how I ate or slept or, like warming up was more just, I did it because it was fun, but like I wasn't that thorough about it. I didn't strength train that much. Like after I played sports all through like, middle school, high school, but didn't strength train again for another like 10 plus years. There's all these things that I could have easily done and just been a much better climber. Like right. I could have climbed harder grades. Number would have gone up.
In that moment, yeah. And then carrying that forward to the kind of the message that you're saying to your past self is then you'd be in a better position now as well as if you kind of had those better habits back then. And then that carries into how one falls. Is that the connecting fiber?
Yeah. Oh, and what I was saying is because like there's some people who are just like, this doesn't feel, I could understand how if you were listening to this and you're like 25, you're like, none of this feels relevant.
Right.
But it is. Listen. So how you fall, super important. I think this is something that is wildly underrated. Just understanding how to fall. Like I skateboarded for a ton of years. That was one of the main things I did before climbing. And you have to fall on concrete a lot. So you get really good at just doing that. And, like a lot of kids, like I just like jumped off of trampolines and out of trees and you get good at like hitting the ground without breaking. So big thing is just like learning how to dissipate that force. So when you land, like practice rolling. I'm a huge fan of going to the gym, grab a jug. Like you can start with your feet on the wall. Let's say you're on a 45. Let go with your feet and just throw yourself with your hands, land on your heels, roll back. For years, I used to climb in a gym in Houston that doesn't exist anymore, but they would have, all these massive open pad areas. I would just do a bunch of tumbling before I would start climbing. Like I do a bunch of cartwheels, round offs, like diving rolls, just getting comfortable, like falling, hitting the ground, rolling around. I think that stuff is great. It's something that I think will be in the future. We'll look back and we'll wonder why this wasn't just like step one, learn how to fall off of boulders. Because I regularly see people essentially like pencil dive from 10 feet, just land stiff legged more or less. And it's like, oh, that is going to catch up with you if it's not already.
And that's honestly, that's kind of what I did on Hyperglide. I mean, the way one comes off of that move most often, and I did it a few times, is like kind of the foot popped off and I just came straight down. Mm-hmm. And so I just tried to kind of absorb myself as if I was just jumping off of a box jump or something like that, where I just kind of was trying to essentially just land on my feet, Yeah. And again, I did that a couple times and it was fine. Something went a little bit weird on this one. Maybe there was a little bit of a twist to the way I came off because of the way my foot popped or something, but I didn't think about doing the thing that sometimes I do at the gym, which is roll back onto my back. And maybe because the pads are a little thinner and stiffer outside than inside, and it just felt like, oh, I could absorb more with my legs. But are you saying that for you, and maybe we can extrapolate that to others like myself, more times than not, is it better to think about how can I get myself onto my back, or like essentially roll out of this fall, even if it's a straight down fall? Are you still trying to kind of like sink down your butt as much as possible and just carry that momentum off of the feet?
Yeah. Let me start by saying I'm not an expert in this. This is something I do think about, and I do coach to some degree. If someone is just they're like, I don't know how to fall off of boulders.
Right.
We'll do some practice stuff, but I will say there's probably some tumbling coaches out there who would have great advice here. So this is just me working with what I know. But yeah, for the most part, it is sometimes you're going to land on your feet, but a lot of times I'm landing and I'm rolling back. Sometimes I roll off the pads, but also if you're landing toes, heels, butt, roll through your back. Yeah, if I eventually roll off the pad, it doesn't matter because I've already dissipated all that energy.
Right.
But at this point, I will also say I've been doing this for so long, I don't think about anything anymore. I've taken all of the weird falls from all of the positions to the point to where I think my body's just pretty used to it. So I won't pretend like I have this perfect checklist of oh no, my foot popped and I am sideways. Step one, reorient, find the ground.
Right.
But I do think, warm up with, honestly, even just getting comfortable hitting the ground. I think there's Timmy Fairfield, who was from, I think, New Mexico, old pro climber who first American to flash V10 and maybe V11, long time ago. But he had an old La Sportiva video where he was like, okay, I'm going to show you how to get comfortable falling. And I think the first 5 steps were just from standing still on pads and rolling back and getting comfortable hitting the ground from there. I feel like he was very obsessed with hitting his hands against the ground to dissipate with that, slamming his arms in the pads. I don't know about that bit, things update with time. But
right.
I truly think literally just getting used to if you're standing still, can you lean sideways and get comfortable rolling sideways, rolling forward, rolling backwards, just to where contact with the ground isn't this big scary thing. And also for longevity, this is huge. I mean, fall risks when we get older, that is that's a big bad thing. That's the thing that can really make life hard when you're in your, 60s, 70s, 80s, depending on how mobile you are.
Totally.
Are you capable of taking him, of controlling falls? Because you're going to lose coordination. You're going to slip at some point. Getting comfortable, just getting up and off the ground, and also being able to take falls, I think is super important.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a lot of this is practice. You could I feel like your home wall's a little short, which is, I would say for training, perfect. For a training board, if you can backsplat from the top, that's the perfect height in my opinion.
I can touch the top just standing on the pad.
Hell yeah.
I could hang. Yeah. I could just hang from the top, the finish hold, and then just put my toes directly on the pad.
Yeah.
You're saying, the pads are higher than the kicker. When I talk to Kukovic, I'm like, this climb starts below sea level because everything basically starts below the pad, and then I'm climbing up out of the pad. So it's great in terms of reducing potential injury risk. It's great, but probably not great for fall practice.
Yeah, it's all a trade-off. I think for training, what you've got is perfect. For fall practice, maybe going into the gym.
I like your idea. I mean, it just, I think to your point, it's so innate to you at this point in time because you fall in so many ways. You're not thinking about like falling, but it's because your body knows. And my body just doesn't know. I mean, I've taken a handful of falls at the gym, here and there, but predominantly I'm a rope climber. And so if I'm falling on pads, it's usually a steep board climb and I am just like splatting onto my butt or my back. And so learning how to kind of hit with the feet, but then immediately send that momentum into like a roll or something like that. I'll just practice it a handful of times. I think also at this point, the back won't even be the issue. Like I've injured this back enough to know that it's going to come back strong as ever and I'll be deadlifting like full weight in a week or whatever. It's just going to be like what's happening in my mind when I get 4 feet up, 5 feet up, 6 feet up, 7 feet up, where I'm thinking like, can I put the fall out of my mind? And maybe the only way to do that is to just take some falls, safe at the gym at first, but then more falls out at Bulldog or wherever, down in Chattanooga. And then the ratio of safe falls to unsafe falls gets much wider than right now. I got injured on my most recent fall, so that's kind of freshest in my mind.
No, I mean, I think you laid it out perfectly. Like you're talking about, can it be comfortable at 4 foot, 5 foot, 6 foot, 7 foot? Man, climb to 4 feet, hop off. Like I do this all the time. If I'm like, whenever I'm warming up on boulders, I think it's very common to, it's like, okay, I'm doing all my boulders, I'm topping them out. And then if you're not falling until the hardest thing that you're trying for the day, like, yeah, it's probably going to feel a little uncomfortable. So yeah, even just climbing halfway up a boulder and hopping off and just getting used to that bracing impact. And especially, if you're going to the Bulldog, you're not exactly warming your legs up too much on that approach.
Right.
Yeah. All 15 feet of it. So even just, doing some air squats, like climb up a little bit, hop off, just be like, okay, cool. Like we're getting used to this. We're ready. Cause like falling off of a boulder of any height, it is a high impact. Like there's going to be a large amount of force going through you. So building up to it makes sense.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, I appreciate it. I'll keep you posted as soon as we thaw it over here. But then we're also kind of swiftly moving towards sport climbing season, which is exciting. It's the mental shift that I've made has really surprised me because at first when I started working on Bulldog and just kind of transitioning into this more boulder phase, I almost had to fake it until I made it scenario in terms of Stoke. Like I really had to, I was, as I was driving out to do Bulldog with pads in the trunk, I was kind of a little sad that I didn't have ropes. Now I've gotten to the point where I'm like legitimately psyched to go to Bulldog and not even thinking. Some of my friends will be like, well, let's do a split day and we can go get some pitches in. And I'm just like, nah, I'm leaving the rope at home. Like I'm just going to bring everything I've got to Bulldog. And then, when I'm done, I'll just head home and I'll be home for dinner. Yeah. So I've made this cool shift. Now we're going to be working back towards like bringing sport climbing back in, which I'm excited about. And we'll do another call maybe about that because I want to talk about some like spring and fall goals with you. Yeah. But the last time that you and I connected, you were working a lot on sport climbing. Now you just had this Hueco Tanks trip and you're a boulderer again, but also are you a sport climber again? What's your plan?
My plan is to get back to sport. Yeah, that's what I'm excited for. Like I find I just climb my best on boulders and sport when I do more sport climbing. It's probably, I started out by doing high volume and essentially being a sport climber. And I think my bouldering style has been shaped around that. I was actually, it's really funny. I was talking with someone who I spoke to them in 2021 and they did a consultation with me. They're like, I've been a sport climber for a very long time. I've hit a high plateau. They climbed up to 13 plus. They try 514, but they're like, I don't have the bouldering power. They're like, I want to quit sport climbing for a couple of years, just boulder so I can come back with all this power. And I was like, hey, listen to me. Don't do it. It is my biggest regret in all of my rock climbing that I did that. And they were like, I don't know. It sounds pretty good. I'm like, look, I mean, I hear you. I'm like, I'm not there. I can't babysit you, but I'm going to tell you, don't do it. I saw them just a week ago and they were like, you remember that conversation we had? I'm like, oh, I remember the conversation because I know them. I follow them on Instagram. I've seen they have not been tying in. Like they would occasionally tie in here or there, maybe like a month or two a year. They're like, yeah, I don't have endurance anymore. Like they'd consider themselves an endurance athlete who like near their endurance spun up really fast and it was great. And they're like, yeah, like even when I boulder, I don't have the endurance for bouldering the way I used to, because they climbed the way I do. Like when I wanted to break into V8, my mindset around bouldering harder was the more moves I can make any climb, the easier it's going to be. So instead of doing one hard foot move, if I could make it 5 foot moves, it would be easier for me because I had so much more endurance than I had power.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm super excited. That's all to say. I'm very excited to get back to sport climbing and feeling fit there. I feel like last year was kind of the worst of it, of, you know, being like, okay, like I'm getting so pumped. This is exhausting. I feel like I kind of got that out of the way. So yeah, I'm excited to try a little harder this year.
Yeah, how are you keeping that going? Because now we're kind of looking at that extreme example. I've been a microcosm of that. Mm-hmm. I sport climbed and had, I think, really solid fitness up until probably the start of December. And then since then, so we're recording this now in kind of mid-February. So I have done almost zero endurance work, much to the chagrin of like Eric Hurst and some others who really know that like my goals ultimately are going to be sport climbing goals. But I just kind of so fully embraced this boulder bro phase that almost all of my climbing has just been bouldering. And I'm curious. So that's what, December, January, February. I mean, we're only like 2.5 months or 3 months in.
Not
but
bad.
Yeah, like what are you doing, and how can we maybe generalize for somebody like myself or others who are listening in terms of, you know, the boulder phase, but where you still want to be able to perform as a sport climber, maybe not immediately, but in a couple months, which is kind of what I'm looking at. Like I'd like to have a solid spring season. Maybe I have to pick shorter, punchier routes that kind of go along with my goals of still wanting to send Bulldog or something else in that. And then I think longer, pumpier goals for the fall. But what are you doing to keep the endurance going in your boulder phase?
I still do at least one endurance workout a week. I never want to give it up again. Yeah. And
is
also
that like
I'm
circuits on like in the crab shack, or what's an endurance circuit for you?
I do a lot of traversing. I go into the gym very early, and I take up a lot of space on a wall where no one is. And it's one of those things I like don't say out loud too much because I don't want to like make this a thing. But yeah, essentially just like arcing. A lot of arcing is a big one. And then sometimes I like doing things like 4x4s. I like the way I feel when I do them. I think occasionally like throwing them in is really fun. Also, everything I do requires it, but I don't do those too often. I'll probably start up soon though, unfortunately, because they're hard. But yeah, I do a lot of arcing essentially, like just that super base level. And then once it warms up enough, try and sport climb outside once a week. But for me, like my goal is to essentially be sport climbing probably like 8 months of the year. Like I find when I do that, I climb really well. And what I'll do differently now, something I accidentally had happen when I was living in Kentucky one year was the weather was really bad. And so I could only sport climb outside like 1 to 2 days a week. And then I would boulder 1 to 2 days a week in the gym. And I had a really great season, which makes total sense. Anyone hearing this now is like, yeah, of course. But back then it was like, if you're sport climbing, you just sport climb. And if you boulder, you just boulder.
Right.
So that's something I've gotten away from now.
So you're always keeping both. It's just a matter of which way does the needle tilt based on how you're focused.
Totally.
Yeah. And what is the sport climbing season for you out there? Does it start soon?
Pretty big. Yeah. I mean, there's like no snow out here in Salt Lake. It's kind of wild. Yeah. So it might start very soon, especially American Fork, like hell, and a couple other crags. Typically they seep a lot in the spring. I don't know if that's going to happen now. So once it's warm enough, I don't love super cold weather sport climbing, but be pretty good. And then you can climb like in Maple through all summer. It gets hot, but that's whatever.
Well, what's like the average height of those routes out there?
American Fork is tiny. I feel like I could underhand a rope bag to the top of the Crux. Like it is so much shorter than I thought. And they typically roll over and die much sooner than I would have imagined. But that's it, like hell specifically. American Fork there's plenty of stuff that's like tall. But yeah, there's plenty of things there in like the 60 plus foot range. But a lot of hell is little, like 40 feet, if that. And then some of them, it's like, it's not even hard for half.
Yeah. So like more power endurance than like just straight up like Red River Gorge style, like mega endurance.
Totally. Where Maple is like hang on forever endurance. And I'm actually really excited. I'm going to lean into that this year. I haven't done like a true like endurance hang on until you puke kind of sport climb season. And yeah, also probably like 8 or 9 years. I mean, since I was in the red last, really. So I'm excited for that. That's like, I don't know. There's a bunch of question marks. I'm hoping it goes well, but it'll be fun getting back into that because I love being in good, like big route endurance shape is so fun. Like you just feel like I love being able to climb a 100-foot 512, come down and be like, yeah, I feel fine. It's just like, it's like I walked to the mailbox and back, like just a little flushed with blood, but great. Like that is, I haven't felt that in a long time and I want it back.
Yeah, dude. Oh, we'll have to connect again, in a few months here and talk about that because I think in the back of my mind, I'm still staying very focused on these shorter, punchier routes and boulders, at least through the spring. But in the back of my mind, I think maybe a madness cave season for me in the fall. And so that'll be a big change.
No, I think that's great. And also, no, this is perfect. I have very strong opinions about the correct order to climb the madness cave. So, and the fact that you're bouldering right now sets you up perfect for, typically I recommend it to people who have decent endurance with a bouldering background. I personally think my order is great. But yeah, so that'll be perfect.
I have to make it into the cave. I have to start in the undertow. I haven't sent anything over there.
Dude, understandable. Yeah. Resurrection. But also just getting into the cave, like you kind of just need one go just to go up and like just climb as high as you can and like come down. Like, man, I remember the first time I tried to get up into the cave. It's intimidating. Yeah. It's so steep. I mean, and everything in the red is steep, but yeah, once you go through the first time, you're like, okay, yeah, we can do this.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's its own thing, but I've got some friends who are working on some stuff over there, and I just think it could be fun to just swing the pendulum is completely to the other side of the spectrum that I'm on right now, but that'll be a little ways out, and I'm sure you and I will connect between now and then. But dude, this is just awesome. It's great to catch up. I'm happy to hear that your hand's doing better and that congrats. You had a great trip to Waco and you seem strong and building that fitness. It'll be fun to watch your journey. Keep us posted.
Dude, this was fun catching up.
Oh, and are you still working with, you mentioned that you're working with clients right now. How full is your dance card? Should we give a shout out to those listening if they want to do a consult or a plan with you? Or are you?
For sure. Yeah. Okay. Always open for consults. Also, I coach out of Salt Lake City through Momentum Climbing, but you can just reach out directly to me if you're looking for in-person coaching. Always excited for that.
Yeah, great. Hey, parting thought, any new affordable atrocities that we haven't seen out of you lately?
Yes, 3 people will find this hilarious. So in 2021, there was a very short period of time when Coca-Cola had a product called Coca-Cola with Coffee. And I'm not a big soda guy, but I was on a road trip and I was like, what is this? Like it was in the coffee area of like a gas station. Got it? Delicious. You look at the ingredients, it's Coca-Cola and it's coffee, like nothing. And they only made it for a few months, disappeared. I've been so sad. Every time I tell someone, they're like, you can just make it yourself. I'm like, look, I know I can. It's not the same. And jokingly, for my last day in Waco, when I was like, okay, I want to go try this project, one of the people I was climbing with like gave me cold brew coffee. And she was like, okay, you just have to find the Coca-Cola because they don't sell Coca-Cola at Sprouts, apparently. I was like, okay, it's okay. Where I shop, they sell plenty of Coca-Cola. So I decided I would make my own mix for the day. It was so bad. Well, I don't know if they use like cold brew concentrate or like if my ratios were wrong. It was the most terribly bitter, awful. The aftertaste was worse than the front end, and the front end was bad. I made everyone who saw us that day drink it. I was like, you need some of this.
But you sent.
I did. It was, I sent.
What does that say?
At what cost? But so that's the affordable atrocity that's currently on my mind. Like often people will be like, Nate, what are, of all these things that you've tried, what have been your favorites? And I like have a handful that I always like think of, but the drink version has always been 2021's Coca-Cola and coffee. And this was the first time I tried to replicate it and I did so bad. So that's what's on my mind right now.
All right, y'all, that wraps things up with our buddy Nate Drolet. Nate, thanks so much, man. Always appreciate your time and your support as well for me and for so many others in the climbing community. Nate mentioned that he is doing consults right now and maybe even taking on some clients. So I'm going to put his information in the show notes of this episode. He's also got some very, very thoughtful content over on his YouTube channel. So I'm going to link to that. Speaking of YouTube channels, I mentioned at the beginning of this episode that I have a new YouTube channel, Ryan Devlin Climbing. And I've only got, at the time of recording this, a couple videos up there, a couple shorts of me on the Bulldog boulder, and then one long form video, kind of a vlog style of me talking through this injury. Got a little bit of comedy beats in there. I'm just trying to have some fun with it. This channel is just going to be more about my personal training and climbing journey. I'm going to be bringing in some higher concept topics. So, different training hacks and things that I've learned over the years of doing this podcast and talking to pretty much every pro in the space. So it'll be like a combination of my personal stuff and then some things that I think will be like a big value add for the climbing community. Anyway, you can support me. This is like a zero cost way that you can support me. You just swing over to YouTube at Ryan Devlin Climbing is the channel, and I'll put a link there in your show notes. So would appreciate you taking a look at the videos, maybe subscribing to the channel, leaving a comment, that kind of thing. And of course, I've always got the usual stuff over on the Struggle YouTube channel as well. And other ways that you could support me, well, you could come aboard as a Patreon member. Got a few tiers over there, Crew, Pro, and Hero. And whichever one you would be able to do, I would certainly appreciate. It helps me to keep making these episodes. Plus, you can get access to over 150 hours of bonus content and pro clinics, including episodes with Nate and so many others as well, like everybody under the sun, Adam Andra and Hamish MacArthur and Will Bosey and Alex Honnold, to Dr. Tyler Nelson and Ravioli Biceps, Allison Vest, Nina Williams, Hazel Finlay. There's pro clinics and bonus episodes with all of them. So you could join for free for 7 days on a 7-day trial, or you could sign up for like a month or two. Just check it out, see if it's for you, and then quit anytime. No expectation, but really appreciate the support if you can. All that information is in your show notes as well. I'd like to thank the brands that sponsor The Struggle, and I really, really appreciate that. Again, it's another way for me to keep the lights on over here in the podcast/utility closet. I want to thank you so much for listening, for sharing, not only like my content, but also like sharing with me what you've got going on, your climbing, your wins, your struggles. I hear from a lot of you like daily, and I love it. I'll get back to you. So you can hit me up on Instagram or in the Patreon app or over on YouTube. I'm here for you like you're here for me. So thanks for being here. And also thank you to Glenn Walker for helping me to edit these episodes, to Haley and Philippa for helping me to do the marketing on them, and also to the Honnold Foundation for keeping us carbon neutral since day one. They're doing awesome work over there. Just swing over to honnoldfoundation.org to see what they're doing. They've got these amazing grantees, and they're doing open calls, I think, right now for new potential grantee recipients. So if you know of an organization that could benefit from a partnership with Honnold Foundation and solar power, then yeah, take a look at all of that. And thank you so much. I know, time is precious. We don't have a whole lot of time in our days. So the fact that you're welcoming me into your ears every week, or into your eyes if you're over on YouTube watching this stuff, I really do appreciate it. I hope you're having an awesome day, and I'll see you next week.